again. In this short tutorial, I'm just going to quickly visually show how to interact with HG and which is Mercurial. This is inside Linux. If you're running Windows, inside Tortoise HG, which is sort of probably one of the easiest ones to use, there's similar functions. You click a button to pull, and then you need to update. If you're on Windows, I would highly recommend using Scoop. I will put a tutorial out soon on how to use Scoop for developing on Windows. A developer I work with, Marcus, got me onto that, and it's a pretty cool piece of tech if you happen to be stuck on Windows for developing. It does make life a lot easier. Anyway, moving forwards with this. Right now I'm in a repo that we have, and we can see HG status shows us what files are different, and the question mark denotes basically the HG is aware they're different, but they're not tracked files. What I'm going to do is, I happen to know that there's been change in our repo, so I'm going to use HG pull. Now what HG pull does, because I'm not using SSH key, it asks me to enter the password, which is fine. Okay, there hasn't apparently been changed. Very good. HG heads. Okay, so it's just scrolled off the screen there, which I'll see if I can bring back down for you. Here we've got, just down here, this change set, this top one here, no GeoIP, is a branch that I created for another developer to get some stuff working on Windows. So that's the change set which I thought had been updated, but obviously this version of the repo has already been updated, which is fine. So what we're going to cover now is just quickly how to create a new repo, which would be, sorry, not a new repo, a new branch. So HG branch, and then I'm going to call this test1. So we've now created a new branch. If we go HGID -B, tells us what branch we're in, and if we just do HGID, it also gives us the change revision. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch, this is just to give you an overview of everything. I'm going to do test file.txt. So if we have a look now at HG status, you can see test file. So if we want to add a file on the command line, HG add, and then the file. And now we're going to commit, HG commit, message, new test for tutorial. And then we want to push, HG push. Now if you just do this, what it's going to do is it's actually going to say, hey, you're actually pushing a new branch. You need to make sure you want to commit that. So what we do is --new branch. And that goes and it creates the new branch on the repo so other people can pull it down. Inside Tortoise HG, what you would do to replicate this would be, ideally you'd have HG in your system path, and then you can pretty much do all of this from the command prompt or from PowerShell. If you don't have HG in your system path, I would highly recommend that you put it there, because trying to do this inside Tortoise is not as easy as just typing. Like you can do it, and it may be worth doing a tutorial on that alone. But in terms of speed, like, this is what I'm used to, this is what I'm doing, this is what I would encourage you to do. If you develop your skills using the command line, a lot of these skills are transferable to different platforms. If you get used to a particular GUI, then you have to learn a new GUI, or you have to learn command line if you change environment. So that is how you create a new branch, how you update, or how you add a file, and how you commit. So if we want to remove the file, we can go HG remove test one file, and then we go HG status, and now it's saying it's removed. So then we're going to go HG commit removed test. And let's say we want to close this branch. Well, actually, what I'll do is, let's say there's been an update in the default branch or a branch that we want to pull changes in from. What we do is we go hgmerge, merge, and then the branch. So if it's default, we type default. If it's this branch, then we type in that branch. While merging with working directory, ancestors has no effect yet. So currently it's most up to date. So HG knows that the revision number that that particular branch is on is a ancestor to our one. So we can't merge with that because it's already incorporated. If we were to go and make a change and then commit and push that and then use this branch, we would see it and it would be able to be merged in. Now let's close this branch down. HG branch help. I'm not at home, so clean restart branch. No, I'm pretty sure it's just closed, isn't it? Close branch. FC. Let's force clean. Commit dash close. There we go. So HG status, we have HG commit dash dash close dash branch. And okay, so this is what happens when you don't enter a message. On Linux, on Windows, it'll probably open up in Edit or Notepad. I'm closing branch test, and we can write that out. Control 0, yes, and then Control X, and HG commit dash M. Yes, this should say no changes. Yep. So now we push, HG push. And that pushes it and closes the branch. So now if we go and we have a look at the repo, we go HG update DB1.8 heads. Here we can see no IPs there, FMTP 1.8's there. That's our default branch. Rupees 2 should probably get, no, that shouldn't get closed. PayPal, that should probably get closed or updated. Actually, it might start working. No. Be a good thing to do. Update it. And affiliates, it's an old branch that should probably get closed as well. I'm guessing it's from a long time ago, 2015. So our branch is now closed. And that's pretty much it. When you pull, if you want to pull and update, what you do is HG pull -u, and that'll pull in the changes and update. If you have a messy working directory, which is to say uncommitted or unpushed so uncommitted changes, you'll get a little error message, and what you'll need to do is either use -F to force or commit those changes. If you force, you will lose all changes. This is something to be aware of. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing is if you want to re-clone, it's effectively like setting up a new repo. So right now I've dropped back. If we have a look, what I'll do is I'm going to make a new dir and go fmtv3. So I just made a new directory, and I'm going to copy path. I'm going to hg clone. So let's say, actually no, I'll do this. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go fmtv3. Yeah. Oh, clone. Clone. And this is going to start pulling in the repo, and it's going to take a while because there's a couple of files there. And when you want to reclone, you want to start fresh. Basically, what you do is you delete everything from the directory, including the .hg files and directory. On Windows, they may be hidden, they may not be hidden, but you need to get rid of them because so long as they're there, it's going to record everything as being a change to the repo. So if you delete everything and don't get rid of them, and then you reclone, it's going to have a hissy fit because it thinks you have a newer reversion number, and it's going to want you to commit, it's going to want you to push, and that's going to wipe out your repo. So you don't do that. What you do is you get rid of the HG files, and then you treat that as an empty directory, and using HG clone, path to your repository, and then folder name afterwards, and that tells it what folder name to go in. And you can specify any path, like if you're in your home directory, you can specify a different path. So here you can see what it's doing. So, and if I just stop this, we go into FMTV3, ls, so you can see all the stuff in here. So, but you can't see it. This is good. So rm-rf star. So this is just going to delete everything from here, or so we think. See now, see our different commands. Now we've got just those HG ones there. So rm-rf, this is Linux command for remove, like del in Windows, .hg star. So now we should have nothing. So we go back, and then basically we can just issue the same command again, hg clone. And if that was our staging repository, or even our live, if we needed to reclone the live, then we would have just have wiped everything out. We removed it. It's basically an empty directory, and now we're cloning into that empty directory. So that's how you reclone. And there are specific instances where you need to do that. We had one where this is our staging. We had 3 heads for some reason. And on production, there was only 1 head for our working branch. And there's a variety of reasons that could have happened. Generally speaking, it shouldn't. But the quote-unquote simple solution to that is to reclone. And the reason behind that, from my point of view, is if a repo has multiple heads and it says it's up to date, then you have to merge those heads. And if you didn't work on the code that's in them, then you're merging stuff that you're not familiar with, and you could introduce old bugs. You could accidentally accept changes that were changed again and, undone. So the easiest thing to do is to work with a new copy that is the most up-to-date of your code, and how you do that is reclone, basically. And I just cancelled that because, it takes time. So cd fmtv3. Oh, did I delete the folder? Very good. Maybe it deleted it because it wasn't finished. Tisk. Don't Control C. Close this stuff. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. HG has a fairly comprehensive help, which you can use. And I actually found this. I'll just create a new tab, new window, and I'll link this in. HG no deep. There's a great little cheat sheet which I use quite often. This guy here, yes, that's how I find it. So you can see the URL there. HG the simple guide, no deep shit. So setup. It's a link, creating a new repository. It's very similar to the stuff that I've just gone through and shown you. How to clone, workflow, working directory, some nice little graphics, how to add commits, pushing changes. About the only thing that's not covered on this is submitting a patch. And at this stage, I don't know enough to do a tutorial on that, but I will in the short future because it's important. And if you've got multiple people working on different parts of your code in different working branches, which is what we now have, because we have a branch for Windows because of some unportable code, we can't merge that back into our working branch because it'll break elements of our site. So what we then need to do is have those developers submit a patch to our working branch, and then we just accept those changes to those files, not the ones that we don't want. So that's it, nice and easy. I hope you found this helpful and useful. Feel free to watch it many, many, many times, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.